Not a zero-day and not a nation-state cyberweapon, a folder, on a single computer named test. Inside a customer's network, an endpoint that nobody recognized quietly registered itself and went to work. Sophos analysts caught this in the way that most things get caught, an alert. Suspicious files executing from a path so ordinary it almost looked like a mistake. But when they pulled on that thread, the folder didn't just hold a few stray tools, it held the front end of an entire machine. Cobalt Strike profiles tuned to look like ordinary web traffic, a command channel hidden inside Telegram, scripts to smuggle code into trusted Windows programs, and a Cloudflare relay built to hide a server that wasn't supposed to be found. And scattered throughout all of that, Python scripts, many written in Russian, and many, as it would turn out, written with the help of AI. What Sophos had pulled on here wasn't just one attacker's toolkit. It was a preview of how cybercrime is starting to change. This really is the story of a threat actor who used commercial AI to build and test malware designed to slip past software guarding modern networks. And they didn't do it by hand. They built a system, a team of AI agents that could read security research, write and refine attack tools, and then test them in a lab over and over again until they work. So think of that traditional pipeline to production that your own developers go on. Well, it's the exact same here, except from it's malware they're creating. But the story here really isn't what you expect. I think when we hear AI and malware in the same sentence, the wider narrative tends to get ahead of itself. The AI wasn't some autonomous mind dreaming up new weapons on its own. Its role was actually much narrower, and probably way more revealing because of that. It was coordinated and accelerated, and it handled the grunt work, the part that has traditionally slowed the attackers down. The hard part though, actually beating the defenses, that was still a deliberate engineering process, with a human in that loop reviewing the results and deciding what came next. A machine that turns one person into something that works like a team. And that's the exact same pattern that we're seeing in legitimate engineering teams at the moment. But to understand how a single person could build all this, you have to rewind to a specific moment, the moment the tools themselves went up for sale. By early 2026, something had started to shift in the criminal underground. Artificial intelligence had become a commodity. On underground forums, brokers were openly selling access to the most capable models on the market. From the creators of ChatGPT, Claude and Grok, bundled, resold, and rented out by the week. One listing started its prices at around $15, so you no longer need an account that would run the risk of getting banned, connected to your own credit card. You needed a few dollars and a crypto wallet for anonymous model access. So when our own operator here set out to build their own system and put a capable AI at the center of it, they didn't have to invent a new capability or steal it. They could just simply buy their way in. But as you know, having access to a powerful tool is not the same as having permission to use it. Because all these models here are designed to do one thing the moment they're asked to help with a crime. Refuse. 1. The Great Deception. Social engineering the AI. Now, here's where things get interesting for defenders like me and you. The operator didn't ask for malware. They asked for a red team. By dressing the work up in the language of legitimate security testing teams, the language that defenders use themselves, they took the AI past its own guardrails. Researchers assessed that this was never a real red team, of course, but it was the vocabulary of defense turned into a way in. And this was no lucky guess either. Talking a model past its own guardrails has become a craft on its own. Across the dark net, whole channels are now devoted to it, to jailbreaking the big AI models. Members trade techniques like recipes, roleplay framing, where the model is coaxed into playing a character that has no rules. Contextual manipulation, so feeding it just enough innocent-seeming setup that the real request can slip through. They share templates, they compare notes on what still works after each update. It's gone professional enough to have a job title. On criminal forums, recruiters have started posting for a new kind of specialist, an AI prompt engineer, someone whose entire skill is getting a guarded model to say yes. Our operator wasn't a lone genius who stumbled upon a clever trick. They were an early practitioner of what is quickly becoming a standard criminal tradecraft. 2. The industrialized factory, agentic orchestration. What they had built behind those guardrails wasn't a single hacker sitting at a keyboard. It was something much closer to a company. The operator didn't rely on one AI assistant, instead they had assembled an entire team of agents, each with a specific role and each kept firmly in its own lane. At the top sat a core agent running Claude Opus 4.5. This was the manager. It oversaw the operation, coordinated the other agents, and defined the rules that they all had to follow. Beneath it, we saw a series of specialists. One agent focused entirely on offensive testing, launching payloads against security software and then recording what slipped through and what got blocked. Another handled OPSEC, Its job was to keep the whole operation hidden, by hardening the environment and removing the telltale signs that defenders typically look for. A third existed purely to write documentation, producing clean professional reports in the same way that you would hope a legitimate engineering team would maintain its own environment with a paper trail. Another stress tested the proxy infrastructure pushing the network to make sure communication channels stayed reliable under load, and there was another responsible solely for deploying virtual machines that powered the lab. Now, the interesting part wasn't that these agents had different jobs, it was that they all worked together. Using an open standard called MCP, the agents could interact with themselves and directly with developers' tools. They committed their own code, filed their own issues, and collaborated through a shared Git repository. Much like a distributed team of human software engineers, and it's kind of difficult not to admire how technically interesting that is. But it's important to understand what the system was and what it wasn't. These agents weren't independently inventing a grand strategy. They were orchestrated and supervised and corrected whenever they drifted off course. It was a factory, but with a human supervisor. And that framework of AI agents connected directly to developer tools, it's no longer unusual. It's quickly becoming the standard across your own engineering teams and cybercrime. On the same forums, sellers now advertise updated versions of established hacking tools, rebuilt around the same architecture. So, Cobalt Strike, one of the best-known offensive frameworks, is now being sold with a programmable interface and an MCP connection, allowing it to be directly driven by Claude Code. Other tools go even further than that. One called Metatron describes itself as an AI penetration testing assistant capable of running its own agentic loop, analyzing the target, selecting attacks, and then refining its approach locally without actually needing a human to directly step in at all. Our operator's factory here was definitely a one-off, but it does act as an early polished warning sign of where this entire industry is heading. 3. The intelligence engine, weaponizing research. So what I believe is the most striking part wasn't how the framework built out the weapons, it was where it got the ideas. The agents here were pointed at the public internet at published research of legitimate security firms. So SpectreOps, Palo Alto, Bishop Fox, the very blogs that defenders keep to warn each other and the industry about new attacks. And the agents didn't just read them either. They were instructed to strip each article down to its core technique and then match it against the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which is the industry's shared map of attacker behavior. It would then work out which tools could reproduce it, build out a lab to try it, and report back on what happened. So public knowledge in one end and then tested capability out the other end. The gap between reading about an attack and then running one, that gap that used to take real skill and time, was being closed automatically. 4. The evolutionary loop, iterative EDR evasion. So at the center of this factory here sat a single Python tool, a generator, and its job was pretty simple. Feed it a raw payload and it would wrap that payload in layer after layer of encryption and disguise, producing custom malware designed to slip past security software. Now, most of these payloads, we observed that they were written in Rust and Go, newer programmer languages that many security tools are still sort of slower to analyze. But generating the malware here was only the first step. Next came the automated feedback loop, and in my opinion, probably the most interesting part. Using a tool called Ludus, the operator built a virtual firing range containing machines protected by Sophos, CrowdStrike, and Microsoft Defender. Every payload was launched against those systems, and if one was detected, the AI agents would analyze why, rewrite the code, and then try again. Create, test, analyze, refine. The factory repeated the cycle across nearly 80 modules and more than 70 different evasion techniques. And according to the agents here, the end results were almost perfect. The records, however, tell a slightly more cautious story. They don't fully support these claims, suggesting that the factory may have been grading its own homework, which, if you use AI tooling, is a pretty common pattern that you'll know about. Now, the same AI-driven approach here is being applied across every stage of the cybercrime cycle. From PolyEngine, which used Claude Code to disguise malware, to LeakBazaar, which advertises machine learning capabilities to sift through stolen data and identify the most valuable records to sell. 5. The hidden backbone and stealthy infrastructure. Now, a cyber weapon is only useful if it can phone home without being traced. So the operator built the escape routes with the same care as they built the payloads. The real command server, a framework called Sliver running quietly on a Linux machine, was never meant to be seen directly. It sat in front of Cloudflare workers acting as redirectors, bouncing traffic so the true server stayed hidden. A backup channel ran through a Telegram bot API, folding the malware's communications into ordinary encrypted chatter of an app nobody really blinks at. And the Cobalt Strike beacons were shaped to look like routine web requests, the final reveal and the criminal reality. So what's really going on here? Because it's not a red team. Researchers traced this automated factory, its Russian language scripts, its self-congratulating agents, its careful disguises to something far more ordinary in its ambition: ransomware. And the theft of other people's data, the oldest motives in the newest packaging. And there's a real lesson here. The AI didn't invent a new kind of crime. The goals were the same that criminals have always had. What changed was the speed and the bar. Work that once demanded a skilled team can now be coordinated with one person and the right prompts. But the defense hasn't changed either, so patch quickly, turn on multi-factor authentication, use passkeys, deploy detection everywhere. None of this is new, but it matters now more than ever because the gaps you leave open will be found faster than ever before. And there's one last irony here, and it's not in the labs of the defenders, it's in the criminals themselves. The underground is nervous. Between the sales pitches on those same forums, you find doubt. The people building these tools wondering what it all means for them. If an AI does the grunt work, what's left for the human who used to get paid for it? And much of what gets advertised on these forums is just that, it's advertising. The researchers who catalogued these tools couldn't really verify most of the claimed capabilities. The marketing here may be running well ahead of the reality. So yes, the tools are new, but the motives and crimes haven't changed. They've just accelerated.